Materials Market has really cheap products, but is there a catch? I think there is. But if you was to ask whether I'd use them again, yes, I think I would. So about 2 years ago, this was just a patch of land and I decided I wanted to build an office. I went onto the Wix website and I started dropping items in there, and that's when I realised things had gone up massively in price. Now on this website I got up to £3,000 before I decided to stop adding products and see if there was a cheaper option out there, and that's when I found materialsmarket.com. Now in Materials Market I managed to get everything else from my other basket plus extra items for just over £2,000, saving me in total about £1,000 on a £3,000 bill. Now, I was a little bit suspicious. Obviously it's great to save loads of money, but I wondered how this was possible and even if Materials Market was a legitimate company. So after a little bit of Googling, I was fairly confident it was, and I placed the order. And to get this office finished in total, I made 6 orders, but as I said at the beginning, there was a bit of a catch. Now when you place an order with Materials Market, they don't actually have the items in stock. They go to local trades around you and then they order them from there and get them sent together in one go. So what I found is when they gave you a delivery date, it was more of an estimated delivery date because they obviously struggled trying to get everybody there at the same time. Now out of my 6 orders, 3 of them came all together at once, and with the others there was usually a couple of days delay. And after going through reviews, I found that a lot of people had the same thing. There tend to be a lot of 5-star reviews and a lot of 1-star reviews. All the 5 stars saying how great they were at saving the money, and all the 1 stars were basically saying how they didn't turn up on time. So if like me you're planning on doing something by yourself, it's not that big a deal. You can just push it back a few days or a week and then carry on with your work. But if you've got some people come around to help you, or even worse, you've hired people, you've got a bit of an issue where you haven't got anything for them to do because they've got no materials. And looking back now, it doesn't seem that bad, but at the time it was extremely frustrating. If I've got a weekend spare that I intended to use and they push the delivery from a Friday through to a Monday or a Tuesday, I've lost a whole week. And if that happens a few times, the frustration really adds up. Another thing that I noticed is when I made some of the orders, not everything was perfect. I had a split cement bag, which in the end wasn't that big a deal. It hadn't got wet.
Notice this one's got a massive split in the bottom as well. So actually maybe not the best, maybe not the best delivery I've ever had.
There was some marine plywood that had been scratched, some big sheets.
In the plywood that was a bit damaged, they said with the same delivery, they'll just swap the plywood round. So the good news is that I'm going to get the better plywood. The bad news is I just piled like 20 planks of wood on top of it.
And I also had some plasterboard that was pretty much ruined. So what I had to do was get back in contact with Materials Market, who then spoke to the local tradesperson, and eventually you get it replaced. Now most of the time this went very smoothly, and if you put a bit of pressure on, you could get your product the next day, or at least within the next few days. But what I will say about Materials Market is that it can save you a lot of money. It's probably saved me a good few £1,000s whilst building this office, and I would certainly use them again if I did a similar project. But there were a lot of times where I got frustrated because I had to keep pushing back the building of this project. There were some other things I found interesting about Materials Market. When I got the first wood delivery through, I took the name of the company from the lorry and I rang them up to get the wood from them directly, expecting to save even more money. But actually, if you go through the website, they get a bigger discount for you than going straight to the local traders. I'm not sure how that happens, but I would imagine they get so much work for these people that they get a discount. Okay guys, so if you found Materials Market is the right company for you, I'd recommend ordering your materials earlier than needed. If you found this video useful, hitting that subscribe or like button would be very helpful to make the channel grow. It's still very small at the moment. Good luck with whatever projects you've got going on, and remember, don't ask yourself if you can, ask yourself how you can.